Welcome back. If you're just joining us, you're watching Sunday edition here on KTN News. Let's switch gears and talk about some politics now. For the last few days, there has been a lot of tension in the Rift Valley concerning Jubilee's political stand. And of course, that did culminate in the county of Uasin Gishu in Eldoret as President Uhuru Kenyatta and his Deputy William Ruto tried to consolidate that particular support base. Let's listen in.
In a matter of hours after landing in Uasin Gishu County, Ruto had three outspoken rebellious politicians singing not just the praises of Jubilee Party, but they were also extolling the virtues of William Ruto and his boss Uhuru Kenyatta. Ruto knew exactly what Jackson Mandago, Oscar Sudi and Alfred Keter wanted to hear.
Bwana Buzeti ambaye alishindana na Mandago aje aungane na Mandago.
Listen to these speeches from just 8 days ago.
Mjinga akierefuka, mwerefu yuko mashakani. Hata sisi kura yetu tumerefuka. Na vile Sudi anasema hatutaki mchezo. Tutaweka agents kila mahali. Kura 100 ikienda kwa nini? Hata hiyo ingine taambia raia mweni hata mgojuni na saa moja vile inaenda. Kwani ni lazima tukue na serikali?
Sasa tukianza pitina kati yetu, safari itaenda ngumu sana. Na vile mumeeleza na viongozi, hata kura yetu si lazima. Mukianza kuenda kombo kidogo, tunaweza lainisha hata yetu iende vizuri.
The near fallout had arisen from claims that the Deputy President and the top Jubilee leadership were quietly supporting independent candidates led by Zedekiah Bundotich, popularly known as Buzeki. And so, when the Deputy President landed in the region that has been his stronghold for decades, he had the medicine for the rebels.
Na mimi nataka niwaombe kwa heshima. Wale wote walioshindana na hawa wangwana. Mimi nawaomba kwa heshima. Waswahili wanasema asiyekubali kushindwa. Ninawaomba kwa heshima kwamba kama Jubilee tutahakikisha kwamba kila mmoja wetu ambaye alikosa pia tutamwangalia tumpatie kazi nyingine.
It was an immediate political cure for a political problem, and the about turn was magical.
Watu wasikuwe na wasiwasi sehemu yoyote ati temperature inapanda Uasin Gishu. Temperature inapandishwa na hiyo watu ya media. Andikeni ile vitu ya ukweli. Bana kwenda kujaza vitina kwa magazeti na radio na TV. Temperature mko na thermometer ya kupima roho ya watu. Ama kupima vile tunataka kupiga kura. Nyinyi andikeni maneno ya ukweli. Kaunti hii tuko pamoja na mimi nahakikishia nyinyi kama taifa la Kenya kura za hapa zitapigwa kwa amani. Story ya upusi. Sisi tukiwa watu wa bonde la ufa. Na tulitangaza Kericho. Tuko na kiongozi mmoja peke yake. William Samoei Ruto.
Tunapigia debe Mheshimiwa Rais Uhuru Kenyatta na naibu wake Deputy President.
It was quiet after they left Kapseret, but Buzeki had already declared that despite the pressure to step down for Mandago, he will stay in the race.
So I want to still tell the people of Uasin Gishu that I appreciate the Deputy President's position by deciding to choose who he intends to vote for. I respect his democratic right to support Mandago. But I would also want to say that the people of Uasin Gishu at large will exercise their democratic right on the 8th of August. And that is the day when the actual outcome of this election will come to an end.
The unease is stemming from the feeling that the populace will vote only for those candidates endorsed by Ruto in his stronghold. Now, KTN News.
That is the latest from the North Rift, an immediate cure. They are like Noah Otieno put it in that report concerning what these political aspirants wanted to hear from the Deputy President, not to support the independent candidates. Let's start with the Benson Chesarek, who is in the county of Uasin Gishu as we speak, talking to us as he has been for the last 1 hour from our Eldoret studios. Benson, what did you expect that? I mean, that was almost instant what the Deputy President did say concerning not, just insinuating that they as Jubilee will not be supporting the independent candidates, and the about turn from what we did hear from the governor Mandago and and Oscar Sudi, and as well as Alfred Keteri, it was almost instant, the turnaround.
Ben, I think that was a surprise, because I think what the president and what the deputy president is trying to do is to make sure that there is no fallout in the party. There is no doubt that he wants every single person in the North Rift to vote for Jubilee. I mean, every candidate wants that. Every president would want to have majority in the parliament or in the administration. But I think what the president is saying is that there is huge support for Governor Mandago in this county. And what they have been doing actually over the last few days is to make sure that at least there is no votes that will go out. If you actually follow the president never mentioned anyone about any preference as far as the candidates is concerned. But what the president wants to do is let the process be fair, let the Monanji decide, let there be peace and security throughout the process. And for the deputy president, he is doing his best to make sure that there is no issues within the region, given that he is the leader, is the de facto leader in the region. And any signs that the president there will be weakness, I think that is not good. And I think that was the reason why there was a surprise turnout. For Buzeki, I think he has what it takes to be the governor, and he has a huge following, to be honest. I talk to people here on the streets of Eldoret, and a lot of people still believe in him. So it's something that should be treated carefully, because it's either way. They can just decide to go the other way. So I see there is still a lot of development to happen here, and we don't know when the serious campaigns now begin here, how it's going to go. I don't know whether Buzeki is going to hit to the call by the deputy president to step aside for Governor Mandago, and you can tell the tension is still high. You can see. And I hope what they are just preaching is to avoid anything that may divide the community, because this is a hugely cosmopolitan area, and the president and the deputy president needs huge support from this region.
All right, Dismas, Buzeki has said he's still going to be, he hasn't said that he'll heed the deputy president's, advice, like Benson says. Do you think what the deputy president did has any effect yet, or is it just peppering over the cracks? Now, if indeed Buzeki doesn't say Mandago Tosha, what happens?
Now, the two ways of looking at that, Ben. First of all, look at President Kenyatta. When he wanted Kinudhi Ambugwa to step down in favor of Lee Kinyanjui, understand a meeting was organized over a cup of tea. And there was a consensus. And by the time President Kenyatta made the announcement, everything was cast in iron. Kinudhi Ambugwa did not have the opportunity to come back and say, I respect the president's opinion, but I'm in the race. One would have expected for Ruto to do the same thing. Get Buzeki and Mandago in a room, have a cup of tea. And you know that place has got a lot of milk. Have a cup of tea, and then agree on a deal. But to have the deputy president make a public declaration that wale wengine wafanye kazi na Mandago without consulting Buzeki, number one, that's showing a lot of disrespect to Buzeki, who is said to be a self-made millionaire or billionaire, and he is putting a lot of resources and he wants to campaign. But again, when you look at the Rift Valley province, the deputy president's pronouncements could have unintended consequences. There's actually a chance that the person he really wants is Buzeki. And by expressing public support for Mandago, then Buzeki may go home with the day. And understand from the IBC figures that we've got about 451,000 registered voters within Uasin Gishu. And people who thrive in arithmetic on tribal mathematics say up to 90,000 are Kikuyus, and 110 are said to come from the so-called NASA regions. And those are the votes that Buzeki is banking on. So if he gets a few from his KO community, he will pose a serious challenge to Mandago. But now when you come to Mandago, that's the kind of politics that we should start discouraging. Because he speaks in coded languages, in coded tones, and saying that if you're not going to cast your ballots in my favor, then there's going to be repercussions. And he must be reminded that every Kenyan is allowed to invest anywhere, and you can vote for whoever you like. And we shouldn't encourage that kind of intimidation. Right. Now, in the public space, when the deputy president comes and he says, I'm going to support Mandago, then the people may say that the deputy president is succumbing to the pressure of Mandago. Because you recall it, the last couple of weeks, Mandago has been very firm, telling the president that you must, the deputy president, that you must support my candidature, I'm a Jubilee candidate, and blaming everybody at the DP's office for his misfortune. Now he does a quick U-turn and he says, Kiongozi wetu hapa ni Ruto, and now he's blaming the media for the utterances he's made in the past, which probably is a good reason for people in Uasin Gishu to consider voting for Buzeki, because we need leaders who stand on something, that when you make a position, please run with it. Right. Do not make U-turns just for the purposes of some conveniences.
What is your take on this?
I think there are two things that are emerging here. That one, it could be deliberate that the deputy president decided to go with the pronouncement before the consultation like they did in Nakuru. And then secondly, maybe they tried the tea and it didn't work and they decided now to go to the court of public opinion and address the public. But there's something that needs to come out clearly, that this is a contest between a politician who has been very passionate about the Jubilee Party, has supported the Jubilee Party to the hilt, and believes that he needs to be supported in his candidature, and a technocrat who is not passionate about the party. And fortunately enough for the people of Uasin Gishu, he's fortunate about the progressive agenda that he has for the people of Uasin Gishu. And I think that is the biggest worry for Jubilee, that it is not easy to stop Buzeki, because he's not your traditional politician. He's not going to play politics. And I've followed Buzeki and listened to him. And to a large extent, this is going to be one of the hotly contested, I mean, it comes out as one of the serious independent gubernatorial candidate with a serious threat to the sitting governor, for the simple reason that when you listen to him, you'll understand that he's not interested in politics. He's not interested in position. He's interested and very passionate about the plight of the people of Uasin Gishu. And the way he articulates the number of things that he intends to do, I think Mandago is in trouble. But for Jubilee, I don't think Jubilee needs to meddle in the politics of Uasin Gishu, though they need to ensure that politicians who utter sentiments that are likely to antagonize the peace in Uasin Gishu are stopped, because the people of Uasin Gishu are known to be very accommodative, and politicians are actually taking advantage of that to spur emotions. But Jubilee should not worry, because to a large extent, I don't think NASA has anything in Uasin Gishu. Majority of the votes will still go to President Uhuru Kenyatta.
Yeah. It's your party, Jubilee. Is Uasin Gishu one of your worry areas?
First, I want to commend what the Deputy President did, because there is a reason why Jubilee was made a party. And if they don't take the line that he has taken, then it would seem like it was an exercise in futility. We tried to bring all our people together in one political vehicle. Then we can't start publicly disowning that vehicle. So I start with commending the Deputy President, because if you remember in the last election, that was a URP region. And then there was the TNA to make the Jubilee, but now we are all in Jubilee. Then we don't do all that work to come to one political vehicle. Then we start disowning those who've gotten that ticket. So what the Deputy President did is commendable. And I want to second my friend Esbonia that Dismas is not right in assuming that there was no effort to reach out to Buzeki to have a cup of tea. Because what happens is that you only have that cup of tea after the preliminary consultation shows some willingness. Because you also don't want to look like the Deputy President who was not able to talk Buzeki into stepping down. Because I can assure you that if the preliminary consultations with the Nakuru incumbent governor currently had indicated that he's not willing to step down, even the tea state house would not have taken place. Because the president wouldn't have wanted to come out as a leader who cannot exert his influence on people who are loyal to him. But when the preliminary, the preliminary showed that Kinodhi Mbogwa was actually willing to negotiate, he was called for a cup of tea. So if, for instance, Buzeti was called and he was adamant, then the only other option was what the deputy, that is practical politics 101. Right. So he was very much in order. And I like it because one of the other things about the incumbent governor in Uasin Gishu, Mandago, he's really been pulling the name of the deputy president into his wars. Whenever he feels he's under siege, he says that he knows it is the deputy president who is behind. So by just that one public statement, the Deputy President dealt with that aspect of Mandago, trying to bring him back every time he feels he's under siege. Then let me say this, you know, Jubilee has one problem that is not necessarily the independence. Mm-hmm. You remember that NAC Kenya, the president went to the NAC Kenya party and he got endorsed. He went to the National Delegate Conference of the KANU, he got endorsed. He went to Chap Chap, got endorsed, DP and a few other parties. So the question actually is, how then do the Jubilee Party, our party, deal with these friendly parties that also endorsed our president? I want to give you the most obvious example. Baringo. Gideon Moi has come out guns blazing because he didn't want to compete with a Jubilee person. Right. But Jubilee has gone ahead and fielded a candidate there, which to me is really nothing wrong. Because you see, at the end of the day, is that these KANU people have been having some form of, they look down upon the deputy president. That even when they are showing their support to Jubilee, they want to make it conditional, that is support is to the president. So if I were the deputy president, I would do exactly what has happened. Because at the end of the day, people have to have respect for each other. Right. There is no way that you want to undermine me, yet I know that I can actually bring you down politically. So that is not an issue of Jubilee. Right. It is more of a problem with KANU, because they do not want to accept that Jubilee has got a party leader and a deputy party leader in the name of His Excellency, the Deputy President. And for that, they are paying for it.
Does that mean this much? Does that mean then President Uhuru Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto, did they have the opportunity or the luxury of staying away from these regional battles? Would it be in their favor?
It would be in their interest, because when you speak to all the independents, they say, actually they're referred to now as the Jubilee independents. The only reason they quit Jubilee is they claim the party primaries were not free, fair, nor credible, that they did not reflect the wishes of the people. They say if the party primaries were fair, like for instance Kavogo says, if they were fair, he would have accepted the defeat and support President Kenyatta. And when you look at the Deputy President Ruto, when you start discussing Buzeki in a public forum, and you say, I want Buzeki to step down, and a few minutes later, before you even leave Eldoret for Nairobi, he summons a media conference and he says, I'm not working, or rather I'm not following instructions from the DP. What does that do to the reputation of the Deputy President? It immediately lowers, because people, like Chesreka has indicated, that Ruto is considered to be the de facto leader in that part of the world. And when you give instructions, and Buzeki, we said to be your business partner, your close friend and associate, disregards you in public, it injures your brand in a bit. And the Deputy President would have said that in Uasin Gishu, it's going to be 6-piece voting, without having to mention the name of Buzeki. And in the unlikely event that they invited Buzeki for a cup of tea and they declined, then it means the DP does not have that influence that he tells people he commands in that part of the world.
Let's hear from Benson one last time on this. Benson, you hear what these gentlemen are saying, that Mandago is a big political figurehead there. He's the incumbent governor, has a lot of following, but Buzeki as well is commanding his very solid support. Where does this leave the deputy president, now that Buzeki has said he's still going to go ahead and be on the ballot?
Well, that puts now Deputy President in a very challenging position, because from the beginning, I'm sure you used to hear that Buzeki is a project of the DP, and now the Deputy President yesterday said that he's supporting the incumbent governor. So I think that notion now has been pushed out of the window. Now the question is the unity now. What I still believe is the Deputy President carries huge support. His endorsement of Governor Mandago is going to be huge. I think whatever they pronounced last evening here, the last rally before they left town, is that they want massive support for Jubilee. And I think over time and with time, they will have Buzeki be part of this team that will support the presidency and probably the governor. I don't know how it's going to fall out. I don't know how it's going to develop. Maybe we will watch within the next few days if actually it's going to amount to anything. And that is why I said previously, we don't know how, when he begins to roll out these campaigns, whether it's going to massively cause another scenario where the deputy president has to respond. But if I were the deputy president right now, I would actually sit down with this gentleman and tell, hey, let us focus on the general election. What the president has been doing from the beginning when he visited this region is supporting the presidency and the deputy presidency. Let the Wananchi decide the rest. So for some of us who are self-declared independent candidates, I don't feel anything as far as I'm concerned. But for the other candidates that maybe they had issues with the primaries, maybe that is an issue.
All right, thank you, Benson. That's why we leave it on this. Many thanks for staying with us here on Sunday edition on KTN News. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we return, we flip the coin and take a look at what's happening in the opposition National Super Alliance. We take a look at their campaign machinery. Don't go too far.